Azure SQL DB, you can connect Azure SQL DB, and then from there, Power BI can be connected and business user can consume this data, and it's all remains safe because it's a mass data. Since I'm almost closer to the demo, again, I don't know your background, so I would like to share some of the components, what is connected to each other to even start building your pipeline. So it's same again in your Fabric or Synapse or Azure Data Factory is very same concept. So what we generally do is think about this is to container. So you have a raw layer where you get the data, and moving this to the cleans layer. Also, like in the example I show, if you get the data from source and to raw, that's the same things. You still need all those components. So the second components you need is the data set. So what is data set? Data set is nothing but your files, and it could be multiple files, it could be multiple tables or one file. That's the data set. And link service is something, if you're coming from using on-premise solution like SSIS earlier, link service, then you can think about the connection string. So whenever you kind of connect something with your database or your any SaaS solution like cloud solution, you need to know the connection string of what is the server name, what's the database name, what's the credential I'm passing to. That is we call in here as a link service. And one more thing you need to know is Azure integration runtime. Well, there are 3 different integration runtime when you work with Synapse or ADF. There's Azure integration runtime, self-hosted integration runtime, and also there is something called SSIS integration runtime, which is if you have any pipeline built in Azure, SSIS, you still want to run in ADF, or then you can use that one. However, since the example I'm going to show you now is inside the Azure, from one container to another container, moving the data. So I'm using Azure AR. The same component as you see on the left, you need link service, you need data set, you need Azure integration runtime. Even when you're connecting the to the another container, your target, exactly same things you require. Okay, now is the time for demo. I'm gonna go and let's get in the demo. So this is our Synapse, and then as you see, I have pipeline, and when I open this pipeline, this is how it's look like. I build the data flow, but let's build something for you so you know how to build any pipeline. So there is a pipeline. I just can give any name. I can see pipeline test. Sorry. Then I can add, copy data, for example, or data flow. So copy data, it can move data from one to another place. But for example, if you need more transformation, then you need to have the data flow. Data flow has, it's underneath engine is your Spark engine. So it has more capabilities for the transformation purposes. I build with the pipeline with the data flow, but just to show you how the things connected, right? Source to destination or target. I'm gonna just take a sample copy, and then I'll come back and show you the right pipeline. So for example, you see copy data has a source and the sync side of it. Source is where you're connecting to, sync is where you're moving the data to. So when it's source, you're clicking it, you see there is a data set. You need to create a new data set. Then you can tell, hey, I'm gonna get the data from any different sources you have, and here you got, I need to connect with Azure SQL, Azure Storage. So data lake storage Gen 2. I can connect it. I can say, hey, my data is data type you have to tell, like format. So delimited text. I can give a name, say data set, test. And then you need to do, as I said, at the beginning, you need to also have the link service. And link service, let's create one. I'll not create it just to show you. Then I'll just discard all these things. And this is your link service. And then see link service is connected with your integration runtime. And this is the integration runtime that helps moving the things from one place to another is your computation power. And then you can connect with, for example, I can connect with my account key. I can choose my subscription. I can say this is my storage account, and that's it. So as soon as I tell it and hit the test connection and create it, link service will be created. And then that's the source. You do it. I'll just discard it because I have already built this for you. And similarly, you also have to do the sync. And when you're done, you run it, the data gonna move one place to another. Now let's go back and look in the right use case, because we are here to learn how we're gonna make sure your sensitive data is protected. As you see here, I got the source in the data flow, then I'm masking the data and syncing the data into another container. So let's see how the data look like. So if I do the data preview, I refresh, it may take some time. So in the meantime, what I can do is in Synapse, the beauty is also similar in Fabric. It's everything at the same umbrella. You can go and look at your data set. So I'm here. I know where my data is. Here in the div, and I also have raw layer. This is my data, and I can preview the data. See, this is the employee ID, last name, first name, email address, phone number, hire date, job ID, salary. So for example, we're gonna encrypt some of the data, like for example, salary and maybe last name. We'll see. That's my data, how it looks like. Now if we go back, let me see if my pipeline started working or not. Is it previewing the data or not? So I think this is something weird. Microsoft has updated the UI. This one should be very minimum up to this, but it just increased the size and it's become so hard actually to navigate. I hope they fix it as soon as possible. And because it's now, where's my, okay, I need to go inside. Yeah, see the data. Even I'm not able to see this, drag up. This is so annoying. But anyway, as you see, this is my source data, exactly the things in salary and everything. Now what we're doing is we are masking the data. To mask the data, you can use SSA2 algorithm. This is a one-way masking capability where it's irreversible. So it means whenever it's masked, it's completely masked. You cannot unmask it. It's not encryption. Remember, it's one-way masking. And then I'm doing it with the first name, phone number, I believe also the salary. Yes, also the salary. And if we see preview it, maybe it will take again time. We're going to see it. And then we do sync here. And when you're syncing it, we are putting this data. I'll show you. This is the data set, right? And then you see I'm putting in dev, cleansed, and masked folder. So if I'm coming back from here and going again to our lake storage, it's a dev. Dev. This is annoying. And then you got a cleanse layer and the mask. So I hope something has run just today, a few minutes. Yeah, this is 3 o'clock. I was running. See, this is success and succeeded. And let me see, where is that? Yeah, this is the file that's generated. What I can do is I can create a SQL script even top of this file from the Parquet file. As soon as I hit it, as you see, you got a Synapse automatically generate this query for me. And if I just run it, I should be able to see the data here. Okay. Super. Able to. Yeah, okay, here is the data. See, the first name has been masked. phone number has been masked because those are the column we use to mask. Also the salary. So whenever you mask it, no one can see that data. However, something very interesting things happened in my past presentation. When I was doing this presentation, I remember there was a Microsoft office in Toronto, and one of from the audience, one of the person was asking, "Hey, you mask it, and do you know even by looking at this GUID, by looking at the pattern, you are able to trace back and find out the number anyway." I said, "Oh, okay." Then he was saying, do you know about the salting mechanism? I said, yes, I know about the salting. So you can actually implement the salting to make sure it's never ever recognizable. So that's the time actually I built and improved my solution by adding the salt to it. So I'm going to share with you the same pipeline, but I have added salt to it. What is salting is, okay, maybe this is too small for you. This is all making so difficult with this UI changes. It's not changes, I would say it's a bug. I hope they will really fix it as soon as possible. Hope you can see me, see my window. Let me know if you still have issue. I can always, I have also this zoom it, so I can zoom in and show you be in bigger screen or bigger size. So the same things, I'm connecting with the source, so I'm not going to show you. It's the same things. Like if I do data preview, you can see. However, what I added is a drive column, and this is, I think with the big monitor yesterday, it was even bigger, but now with this small screen, it's become more difficult. So what I'm doing here, as you see, I have added a drive column, and this is column nothing but I'm generating a random number. See, this is random 23, and this is the solve column. And the next, what I'm doing is I'm casting that because this random number need to be string to be added to the string column I have. That's the reason. And this is part where this is the part when I'm saying type is a string, nothing yet. And then you'll see that implementation thing is actually happening here. So it means this is I able to go. No, this is terrible. Okay. Now, if I go here in this drive column, and I can open it up here. And you see, I didn't actually use even in first name, phone number, I had it. I just added it to the salary. So what happened is salary column plus the sol column. And then I'm using this SSH A2 to make sure we are doing this masking. So what happened? I mean, what is the difference? Difference is, think about when there's a salary, say if you have $10 the salary, say it, and then maybe other people also have $10 salary, and then GeoID will be like that 99910 whatever that number. For those two number, it will be same GeoID will be generated. So what I mean to say is, I'm not sure I'll be able to show you here. So let me go and open that script. Oh, come on. It means this. Stay with me. So yeah, go up. No, it's not going up. See, so just to tell you, it's not me. It's something Microsoft has done. This window should be like 1/4. It's like half of the windows, and now it's making everything difficult. So I moved from here. Okay, you see, I'm not able to move it, but I can go down. Can I go down? Okay. Forget about this because this is getting, so for example, as you see the fast name, right? Fast name is generated DUID, and say your fast name is, say ABC, and another people also first name is ABC. If I don't use the salt, then it will exactly generate the same GUID for both ABC. However, as long as you added that salt, because salt is always like random number, so actually you're concatenating those two things, it means it will always be different, and then it is impossible to really trace back that number. For example, salary, it's the same things. That I mean to say what I'm saying about adding the salt. So let's go back and to here and there. So this is the one that's working there. Okay. Now, since we are here in Snaps, the very same things you can do also with the Microsoft Fabric. And I don't know if you have already looked into it. The Microsoft Fabric is how it looks. It's fancy. It's not a good window. I like the opening window. You got everything. As you see, you got Power BI, Data Factory, Snaps Data Engineering. This activator is something new, and data warehouse, real-time analytics, and Snaps data science. This session is not about the Fabric. It's more about how can I make sure you can protect your sensitive data. So what I'm going to show you, the exact same things I used to do in our Snaps to do it. You can do the same things by using its data engineering capabilities. So if I click the data engineering tab, you'll see I already have a notebook I created. It's opening, probably gonna take a few seconds. I'll just drink some sip of water. Okay. Yes. See, this is my, Fabric space where I have created a notebook exactly the way you create in Snaps. And then I connect with my, Lakehouse, and you see the same data, right? So employee ID, last name, email address, and so on. You're able to see our list. What I want to do is I want to just mask some of the field here from here, and then I wrote this code. Well, I used ChatGPT to get some code to generate this code just to mask those data. So I have some function where it actually replacing the right value with the asterisk sign. That's it. So what I'm doing here is I have produced the masked email and masked mobile from email and phone number. And you'll see what it does here, what I did here. So this is on the right, you see. That's the mask column, email and mobile number. That's it. But now you can think of, okay, this is a notebook. How can I run it? Execute it every night. For example, you need to move some of the data from one place to other or source to target. Then what I did is I can go to Data Factory, and I can build a mask pipeline. With what I'll do is I'll just invoke that notebook, or can attach the notebook in the pipeline, and it will run. So this is the pipeline. And then as you see in the settings, I said, hey, this is my notebook. And notebook means if I click here, open, you see the same notebook I was showing, it just be there. So this is how we do it. As you saw in Snaps, I use the data flow. However, in Fabric, I use the notebook, PySpark code. The reason is I didn't find data flow here. Well, there is a data flow. No, don't get confused, because this is, they have, Microsoft having this challenges, I think, always with the naming. So they have something in data flow, as you see, this one here in this one is called mapping data flow. See, this is mapping data flow. However, there is something called Power Query embedded. That is something we call, let me show you, maybe I can go there. And see, there is a data flow Gen 2 they're calling, but this is more about the Power Query. And I didn't find actually there is any built-in mask capabilities, or you can use SSS to whatever. That is not possible. It's more about if you use the Power BI. See, this is very similar UI. So I prefer to use the notebook. That's the reason I did in Fabric. And going forward, embedded, Microsoft already embedded the Copilot inside. I think going forward, you're gonna get, pop up on the right hand side in your Fabric. Hey, I'm gonna have a code for this and this. This is gonna generate the code. I'm gonna put in the notebook and it'll work. Of course, you need to have the expertise to understand the code. That's the different thing. So that's it. That is it for my fast demo. Let's move into the next slide. So you saw in your dev environment, you can actually mask your sensitive data, even to make sure no one can actually reverse that, like your mask data. So you can also add the salt to like 100% proof data sensitivity. Okay, you also see the Fabric. Now I'll go back and kind of reminding you that we wanted to make sure some component of the data state. So first component we have chosen is data lake. So we saw in the data lake, you can secure your data, sensitive data, by using the pipeline, or further you can do this salting, as I just mentioned. However, there's more to it. So I'm sure you got to know, if you work with Synapse or any other tool, something called rollback, RBAC, which is role-based access control. What is it? This is more to say you have many resources. You could have your storage, you could have your snaps, you could have many other tools. But your segregation of duties means someone may have access to this particular resource, means your storage account, like container, or someone could have like read permission, write permission. Someone can have snaps. Hey, they can only do the pipeline, run the pipeline. Probably should not able to create the link service, for example. All sort of things that you can actually use the role-based access control in Azure, just to make sure your governance and everything's related to security, you can implement that. But one thing to remember here is this RBAC you can implement in the container level or storage account level. Say now, if we see that there is in this container for HR, you got many folder in it, but say you're coming and say, in payroll, I want to give these people access to it, but not to the other folder. So how can I achieve that? And that's the time there's something came, which is called access control list. So through the RBAC and ACL, you can make sure actually that is achievable. And further down, further to it, like this one, if you look at now, finance team is different than HR team. HR team need is whoever in that container is only HR people, only one team they access it. They're fine. But finance team came to you, say, I have my procurement team, I have my account payable team, and these are the people from procurement team only should able to access this procurement, and these are the people who should only able to access the account payable folder. And that's the time you could have this fine-grained access control by using RBAC and ACL. So when there is ACL, remember, you always have the RBAC. So it's not only ACL. It's two together works to make sure particular like your intended user have access to it. If you have any question, anything related to access control RBAC, feel free to jump in. I just recently, have completed a project where we had to implement this. We talk about all non-production environment like the dev or UAT, but very same things exist in your production environment. Nothing changes. I'm not going to repeat this. So you have all the component also in the production environment. However, as I started saying it at the very beginning, you cannot handle the same way. Securing your sensitive data in production and non-production. Now it is production. Again, look, you got the same data coming from your source. You're pushing this to data lake. Well, I'm not masking it. See? And again, before we're going ahead, I just want to remind you, production environment is well guarded. You only have access to the system admin and related business user. Think about the business user will not come to your data lake. So it's more about system admin who have access to. Business user will come to even Power BI. Or maybe, if you're gonna have like the view created for them at least, or at most, that they will probably come to database. So from data lake and going forward, the database, you have something in the database. Azure have it, Azure SQL DB has it, Synapse have it, Synapse, dedicated SQL pool have it. That's something called dynamic data masking. But serverless, Synapse serverless or serverless SQL will also have it. I learned that they plan to integrate that because dedicated SQL pool is gonna be obsolete anyway. But this demo will be more with the Azure SQL DB. So if you look at here, the data inside the database is the raw data, nothing much. But however, depends on who is accessing the data. So if we say this is the edu group, this is the people who only should have access, rest of the people should not have access, then this is the group you see, they can see the data. However, left group, these folks cannot have access to this data. They can only see the mass data. And at the end, when you are connecting to the Power BI and you have live connection to the database, exactly same thing is going to happen at the end to the business user. Well, I think I already explained this. In the production environment, you got how the data is shown. So underneath you have write data, but depends on who is seen. It's shown this way. When it's come to dynamic data masking, you can manage granular permission. What I mean by granular permission is with the dynamic data masking, you can give the schema level permission, you can give the table level permission, and you can also leave only to the column. So bit context. I'm gonna show you in the demo just to give you bit details here. Say you may have a DBA schema or HR schema, and you say, hey, in this HR schema, this particular people should have access to that schema. Means if there is a 10 tables created in the same schema, all those 10 tables will be access to those particular AD group people. And table level, if you say only this table with a few columns, this should be shown, is possible. You can also actually combine these two. So you can say this table, this column from this table, and then another table, this column, and for this particular group, combine it, and only those people should have access to this particular object, nothing else. You can do also that. So I'll share with you how this can be done. Okay, so this is the demo here. Do you have any question or anything, Julie? I can take it, or at the end, I'm fine.
Yeah, they're more high level, maybe at the end.
Sure. Okay, that's good. This is my SQL code, but before we're going there, I would like to go and show you database. So I have this database. How dynamic data masking can happen. So this is, as you see, I'm in Azure portal. This is my HR database under this database server. And if we go down on the left, you see something called dynamic data masking. As soon as you click it, it's got its own artificial intelligence. It was able to detect all the sensitive column exist in this database and pull it here. So as you see, location, employee, sorry, this is the table name, employee table, for first name, phone number, email, salary, birth date. Those are treated automatically as a sensitive column. Now then you can actually change this, what type of masking you want or not. I will show you one example here. So if I click, I want to manually add in masking. So dynamic data masking. So I can choose my schema, say DBO. I can choose my table, country, and I can choose, say, country name should be masked. And then I can also say what type of value, what type of masking you want. Do you want to just say, 0 to, so for example, credit card value here, default value, it can choose from XSX. If it is email, it can be choose like this. Also, like, for example, if you have number, random number range too. I think this is because this is already understood. It cannot be random number. So that's how you do it. So I'm not doing it. I'll just come back here because it's already have, chosen. One more important thing is here. As you see, I'm not sure you're able to see it. What I have to do is I have to run my zoom. Yeah, zoom it. So you should be able to see it because I got the feedback from one of the last meeting saying, hey, zoom help, because sometimes we're not able to see it. So I gotta zoom in. Hope you can able to see it. Yeah. As you see, this is very important. I have a group, AD group called intended user. It means that intended user is excluded from this list. This masking means if intended user login or these people under this group login, they can see anything and everything. And also this user too, but in my example, I'm not going to use this one. So that's the reason I'm saying this. Also, any group you may have, you can add it and they will be always excluded. One more important thing is to look at administrator. Administrator are always excluded. So if I'm administrator, in this case, yes, I am, I should be able to see everything and anything. That is like one important thing to remember when you're doing this in production or implementing this. I mean, of course, you're going to build this in dev and push it to prod, but this is the things you can do this in a production environment like dynamic data masking. Now I'll go back to the code. What I'll do is first I'll share by clicking the table I have on the left. I know this is also a smaller font for you. I'll select top 1000 rows and you should be able to see the data. I know this is a bit harder for you again. I'm gonna get in this. You see, this is the data. So you got employee ID, this got first name, last name, phone number, salary, and everything. And as an admin, I can see it. Not only that, well, before we go into the user, so this is unintended use. This is another user. So I have this two different table. I'll run it and again do this Control-4, zoom in. You see, this data are masked because we said in that masking, dynamic data masking capability is, hey, mask everything. First name, email, salary is masked, and birthday, if you remember, there's a 1900. That's the default one. So this just change everything to the same with the transaction date. That's what it has done. However, if I go back and I said I have an intended user, and if I run it, and look at this intended user, they can see everything, right? From both table. Now it trusts me. Okay, let's go and move into the different way of managing those data masking. So I have to build up the story. We are talking about the HR data. So think about in your organization, you have HR manager who may have more permission. They should be able to see everything, probably employee perspective, maybe the salary too. But a general employee probably should not be able to see it. So how we gonna do it? First, think about what you're gonna do is HR manager can see, as I said, to the employee table. However, HR employees should only able to see few columns, not really the sensitive columns. And also, you're gonna give more permission to HR manager, who will have access to also, another schema, tables or schemas, table related to different schemas. They should be able to see. So first, let's look at how the data is. I don't know if you can, you can try. You trust me or not? So let's prove you. This HR manager, they don't have access to the data. They cannot see the mask. They cannot see original data. This all mask, right? Seeing is believing. Now we go. We're gonna write. We're gonna execute this code. What it's doing is we're saying, hey, unmask this schema DBO to this user, HR manager. So I'm just gonna run it. Execute is done. So only the DBO, you'll see, because you look at this. This is vendor table is finance schema. So our expectation is only HR manager will be able to see DBO employees data, not the finance schema vendor data. So let's run it again. See if it works. Yep, it's worked. Now they can see everything: first name, last name, even the salary. People are making a lot of money here. And then you see, but they cannot see the vendor related information from the different schema. So it means it's not only employee table. If there is another table in this with the same schema of the DBO, they can see everything. Okay, now we see how you can implement schema level, masking, dynamic data masking. Now go to HR employee. We'll see what is their access first. Then you're gonna only give them the smaller permission. So only to the few column. Let's show you how it's look like for them. Yep, they all are masked for HR employee, right? Now we go back. This is the things I run. Now we're gonna do, see, this is the code. So you're gonna unmask it to the table, and then you're gonna say, hey, first name and last name. That's the one. Why not we also add the salary, right? Will this work? So first name, last name, and salary. I want to mask it for employee. Execute it. It's done. Now we can execute this code. Yep. Will this work? Yes, you see, the employee can see the salary. Well, there is salary and first name, last name. Well, I should not I should not actually unmask the salary because it's an employee. It should be only manager. But as you see, you can choose any column, right? So and then see the vendor didn't really change at all. So that's how it is. It's depend what you're gonna do. In your case, you can just choose the column and it just works. Now what you're gonna do is, if you remember, HR manager never had vendor data access, right? We can see again, just to sure we got how it is. Oops. So see, they see everything, but not to the vendor not the vendor table. What you're going to do is, you see here, we're saying grant unmask on finance vendor table specific to, and then email and vendor name and HM manager. So that's how we're gonna do it. So it's similar like the last one, just a different schema, and also the different schema with the column name. But you understand the concept is now if I gonna run and execute it, see Control-4. See now in the vendor, let's see the vendor name and the transaction date. I think those are the column or email. I think we did. Let's see what we did here. Oops. Yeah, I think this is the one we did. Okay, let's come out from here. Yeah, vendor name and email. That's right. So vendor name and email. That's the reason, as you see, still your transaction amount and dates, those are still masked. Okay. That's it from dynamic data masking capabilities. You got it from Azure Synapse dedicated pool coming in the serverless. Also, it's already exists in your Azure SQL database. Okay.
So we have about 5 minutes left.
Sure. I think we're almost done, Julia, but thank you for that reminder. So as you see, we got different way you can make sure your sensitive and sensitive data remain protected. You already have the authentication. I think most of you use the authentication. So you got a SQL authentication or Azure Active Directory with MFA. You also have the access control in the middle. As you see, you must have the roles-based permissions. Sometimes you implement the row-level security, column-level security. Also, you have this data protection capabilities. On the right-hand side, the first two lines I strike through. The reason is encryption on flight and encryption at rest means when the data moving from different resources in the cloud, or even if your device has been compromised and it went to another people, they're not able to actually get into the right data. However, think about how important to make sure your own inside your organization who have more access to data, how can I make sure those data even remain safe and secure. So that's the reason you got a data under the data protection. You got a column level encryption. You got a dynamic data masking you just saw. Also, there is data discovery and classification. If you can actually classify those data, and then you can kind of see the log and you see the discovery, see the kind of classification. Is it highly sensitive or low sensitive? You can always follow those data who is accessing or not. Now, question to you. After doing all of the things, do you think we're still safe from the malicious employee here? Anyone would like to raise your voice, unmute yourself, and guess? Are we still safe? Well, I assume, yeah, you'll be agreeing with me. Well, it's still not, because consider, as I mentioned, the system admin or DBAs. They're like, I always come with this analogy that, hey, you are and your partner living in the same apartment or same place, and then you share the same safe to put here all the important stuff or valuable asset, and one of you decide to take something away and leave and run, which is exactly like in the same organization, system admin and DBAs, they have more permission, more access to the data. In that case, if someone actually do something harmful, you cannot even protect them, all the things you did. However, good thing is you still have some things more. You have SQL auditing and ledger capability. Auditing, you probably there is auditing capability in your database where you can use for regulatory compliance on you can more understand your activities in the database, what's going on. However, the ledger actually give you more protection. What it can do is, if your database in ledger enable, and then if someone in the production would like to kind of alter the data or do anything, and then it tracks everything. So it means in your organization there should be another set of people who should actually look into all the activities. So, you're trusting, of course, your DBA system admin. There should be another set of people who should also look into all the activities that's going through all these, different databases, especially in the production. That's actually it. So if I summarize it, we look into why it is very important to why it is so important to save our organization, protect our organization by not someone can steal our valuable data, and it can cause it can be devastating for the organization. So we saw how we can do the static data masking, making sure your non-production environment is safe. Also, you can implement more strict rules by applying the SALT capabilities there. Also, there is a more to it in the production side. You can have the dynamic data masking. You can have row level security, column level, and encryption, and so on. And lastly, you can have auditing and ledger capabilities. So my session is over now. If you have any question or anything, I can go over.
Yeah, so there's a few questions over in the chat.
Sure.
The one was the difference between Synapse and Data Factory and why you choose one over another.
Okay. Difference between Synapse and Data Factory. Well, Data Factory, because Synapse have serverless SQL pool, Synapse have notebook capabilities. ADF doesn't have it. So ADF is more only your ETL tool. Now, think about when you're gonna choose one over another. Is if your organization have that need, hey, I'm not only gonna build the ETL pipeline with this. With this drag and drop capabilities with a nice user interface. Rather, I have people who are good at PySpark and any other language, Spark SQL. They can do that there. More capabilities there. So I would say Snaps have, rather, if you think about Snaps has everything what you have in ADF and more to it. Well, probably this is not completely right, because some of the functionalities in Snaps still bit behind, only particular to the ETL part. But most of the cases, it's actually have more capabilities in Snaps in terms of serverless SQL pool, in terms of everything together. As you see in that demo, you can make the query directly from Snaps by using the notebook. Whereas in ADF, say if you create a Parquet file and if you want to see the data, it's a bit tedious. You can see from the UI from ADF, but say you're gonna go to your data lake and you are gonna see it, you have to download fast. Then you have to probably use some other tool to really open those Parquet files. So yeah, Snaps is in that case better. Also, Fabric is coming, which is combination of everything what we have. I know I give the bigger answer. There is more to it. If you have more questions, you can always raise to me.
So Alice A, she's thinking of purchasing Azure to run some FaaS functions, function as a service. And would you please talk a little bit about how I would apply these security measures to that use case?
So what's the name you said, Julia?
Alice, it's
I'll
the
just go. Okay.
second question.
Purchasing Azure to run some function as a service. I'm assuming, Alice, you feel free to unmute yourself and you can explain to me. But it seems to me is you're gonna actually create some function, Azure function, I believe. Then you had actually Power Apps you can use to create those function. Also, like Azure function, you can have the built-in function. So your question is talk a little bit about how to apply the security measure. Okay. So is that correctly understood, Alice? You're thinking about Azure function and Power Apps, all sort of things. If I'm assuming yes, Azure Functional Startup, well, this is not the things you're gonna get it there. This security, of course, this has a security measures. With the Azure Function tool, you can put your AD group there. You can make sure, hey, these people can only access to this function. It is there, but this particular case, like dynamic data masking, no, you cannot have that through those Azure Function. Let me see if Julia, any more questions? Or should I go and read it? Eskens mentioned, sorry to have dropped out. Okay. And then someone said Brian.
Access.
I think the header is.
There's.
I think this is more about information Brian was sharing. There's an information mask to the right of the header column, and X there should be able to shrink that header is in the X.
Yeah, I didn't see it though, so.
Okay, that could be helpful, but thank you, Brian. I'll look at it. Nick said, I joined the session towards the end. May I list know if can get access to the DB-assemble script and practice some new MSC? Oh yeah, sure, Nick. Okay. Yeah, Nick, I'll share the script. So yeah, I'll share this with Julie, and you will have the script. For example, Alice mentioned, for example, I'm going to build a cloud and save function. Let's say the library. When you borrow a book, you'll get a note that said, here are the next event from the library that matches the book you borrow. Yes, Alice, I think you are talking about the function and Azure part. I'm not an expert in that area, but when it's come to the security, even if you build any function and anything, you can always, you can always, attach your AD group to it. No, you already mentioned that. Yes, you're right. My presentation is more focused in the database and data warehouse in the SRS, but I understand it's more into the software engineering space where you need to talk with right expert. What is your challenges? Yeah.
Well, very good presentation. Thank you very much. And it was very practical as far as, the salaries and everything, email address, phone number, the masking. I thought that was very useful.
Oh, thank you, Julie. No, it's a pleasure to meet here and, engaging people. You folks are very nice communicating and asking questions. It's always good to see this interactive session.
So thanks everybody for joining, and hope you can join us again in 2 weeks. And I'm going to end.
Yep. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.